Welcome, everybody. It is so great to be back here today. We have so much to talk about. First, let me explain what happened last week. Now, understandably, last week I was gone, and understandably, many people assumed, reasonably so, that this was part of my paternity leave, me being gone last week. It was not. I was suddenly, in an emergency fashion, temporarily a single dad last week and ended up having to bail on the entire week. Let me tell you what's going on. So, as many of you know, had a baby some weeks ago and took about 10 days off initially and then slowly kind of worked back into doing the show, but limiting my other stuff with the idea that once the baby is an age in a couple months where she's no longer sleeping all day, then I would take some other time off and whatever. But in the meantime, wanted to get back to hosting and just kind of a little bit of a sense of normality. And last Sunday night, I was ready to wake up Monday and do the show when at 3 a.m., my girlfriend wakes me up and says, sir, I'm not feeling well. She doesn't really call me sir, but okay. She said, I'm not feeling well. Can we take my blood pressure? With postpartum moms, you monitor for something called postpartum preeclampsia, and one of the signs of that is high blood pressure. And we take her blood pressure. This is 3 a.m. Take her blood pressure. Blood pressure's fine. 305, she says, I'm just really like my abdomen just hurts. I'm not feeling well. And we're thinking, that's weird. All right, let's call the OB, the obstetrician, their on-call line, and see what they say. By 3:10 in the morning, she's really not feeling well. And by 3:15, she's doubled over on our couch. And at this point, I'm saying, what is this? This doesn't seem good. My girlfriend has a really high pain tolerance normally. Like during the birth, she asked, when would people normally start like getting anesthesia? And the nurses said, 24 hours ago, most people would have had anesthesia. She was like, this really isn't that bad. So when she's doubled over, I know something bad is going on. By 3:20 in the morning, she says, you got to call 911. And at this point, I know it's bad. I call 911 and she is just in such abdominal pain that she's unable to move. 3:30 in the morning, ambulance shows up. And she's rushed to the hospital and says, take care of the baby. So all of a sudden, I am saying, I got to make formula. I need to figure out what's going on. Long story short, by about 11 in the morning, about 8 hours into the ER stay, they figure out that she has a duodenum perforation. The duodenum is sort of like it's below the stomach, but above the next thing. I guess it would be like the small intestine, I think. There's a perforation there. And we're thinking, what are the odds? Young woman, healthy, all of a sudden, a perforation, that it's just so unlikely. And what we find out, and of course, with these things, you never know 100%, but what the surgeon and what everybody agreed upon is this is a rare but known side effect of a significant use of ibuprofen. Ibuprofen, well, why? After the C-section, she was put on ibuprofen, both in the hospital and then after the fact, every 6 hours. That's a lot of ibuprofen. And this is sometimes you get an ulcer from ibuprofen use. You can have gastritis. And every once in a while, you get a perforation. And this was that rare case. It's a really serious condition. There sometimes postpartum perforations in other countries in different situations lead to death. And so she was rushed into surgery. It's a relatively simple surgery, but with very kind of intense, complicated recovery, including not being able to eat or drink anything for 5 days, which is a form of psychological torture. So that's why I was gone last week. I was going between the hospital and taking care of a baby, initially by myself, and eventually we got help from family, and it was crazy. I mean, I don't, there's a million different details I could give you about how difficult situations are in hospitals, even in good hospitals. And, also the realization of like, how do single moms do it? When we just randomly hear, oh, Barack Obama was raised by a single mom. Oh, all right. Like the day-to-day of that, once you get down to the logistics, once you get down to the specifics of what that is, it's incredible. It really is. And I was always a supporter of all funding and programs to help parents in general and single parents and all. I am doubly or triply now a supporter after having experienced it for a week, particularly knowing very little about babies, I have to say. So fortunately now everybody's on the mend. It is like a 4 to 6 week recovery period in total, but things have gotten much, much better and everybody's reunited. I'm no longer doing the single dad thing, but and by the way, the other thing, single parents who work. I mean, this was a particularly acute situation, right? Where my girlfriend's in the hospital and I'm home with a baby and et cetera. But there's no way I could have worked. I mean, it's just impossible, right? I was doing the pediatrician appointments, managing the feeding, coordinating help with the family that was able to help. It's literally 24/7. I just don't even know. I don't even know how I could have possibly done any job. And I'm lucky enough to have a job where I'm the boss and I can say, well, I'm off for the week. And of course we had great fill-ins. We had Luke Beasley and we had Pat and we had Farron and we had the resources to do that. But imagine that, number one, I had an employer saying, we start at 9:15. Where are you? And it's like, oh, I can't make it for a week. I can barely leave the one room in my house where I'm doing things. But imagine also that my income went to zero as a result of that, as many people don't have paid time off or sick time or whatever the case may be. So incredibly eye-opening and horrifying, but hopefully now on the up and up. And of course, we've got to monitor for complications. And sometimes after, when you have various tubes inside of you for a week, when they remove the tubes, you've got to watch what happens and you've got to watch for infection and all of these different things. So we're not completely out of the woods yet, but it's so great to have a little bit of a sense of normality and to be back on the show today. But that was last week. It was not really paternity leave. In a sense it was, in that it was connected to the birth. And interestingly, this was the OB team that was part of everything, even though this was not an OB related procedure. The OB team was involved in everything. They said our entire practice is now changing how we do postpartum Advil. We used to do it what's called PRN. The patient just requests it when they feel they need it, and then they often wouldn't, and then they'd wake up and they'd be in pain. So we would just do it every 6 hours, and we're not going to do that anymore. So crazy situation. Good to be back. One of our sponsors is Airly, the delicious crunchy crackers that are fighting climate change. Did you know over 25% of greenhouse gases come from the global food supply chain? A lot of companies talk about getting to net zero carbon emissions by 2030 or whatever date. Airly has been net zero since day one, and they will never be a net carbon emitter. Each box of Airly crackers removes 18 to 21 grams of CO2 from the air. That's why it's called Airly. They're available in 4 delicious sweet or savory flavors: cheddar, sea salt, chocolate, salted caramel or caramel, as some people like to say. Whole grain oats are always the main ingredient. They're made with 100% real cheese, cocoa, butter, brown sugar. Our whole team loves them. I know you will too. It is a snack you can feel good about. Go to airlyfoods.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman for 25% off. The link is down below.